Hello, it's me, future me. I have just gotten done recording the main body of the video. I'm just gonna say there's a lot of rambling in here, as my thoughts on this is pretty much all over the place. There's a lot of implications from the interlude teaser, so please note that it is a lot of rambling, a lot of buts, uhs. This is just me reading or using the script I wrote as like a bullet point. I'm not reading it word for word. I may have to do that in the future though. Anyways, back to past me. Hello and welcome to my analysis, notes, small mini theories littered around, and overall thoughts on the Teyvat Interlude chapter teaser that came out on Wednesday, the 9th of July. Said that really weird, but I don't care. Now, I started writing this as a post on HoyoLab, but I thought it was better suited for a video instead, as it has just spiraled out of control at this point. Also, a warning, because at the time of me recording and writing this, I have yet to complete the 5.7 Archon quest featuring Dainsleif. So if there's anything from that quest that is referenced in this video that came out, I have no idea, and I'll find out when I do play it. And this is also just things that captured my attention during the video, so I may ramble a little, because this was supposed to be, again, a post on HoyoLab. But if this captures your attention or you all enjoy it, I honestly will become shocked. I'm only doing this because I need to post my thoughts in some fashion. But now, without further ado, let's just get on with this. The first point I want to bring up about this video is that the art style they chose for that was so good. It kind of reminds me of a storybook or an oil painting or that of a watercolor painting almost, which does a really good job at indicating that this isn't in Teyvat itself. It's something beyond it. And we see an old woman in a field with a tree with suspiciously 7 individuals with her. Why 7 is such an important number? I mean, 7 Archons, 7 primordial dragons. Hoyo loves the number 7 for some reason. This is also our first look and second look for some of the shades. With Nibirius heavily associated with the colors white and blue. She honestly does remind me, design-wise, of a Greek god as well, mainly due to the shoulders and the, what look like ribbons flowing out of her gown. Her hair also looks like ribbons at some point. There's also a lot of holographic imagery associated here with her, which does suggest that Dendro might be an element so closely associated with life, as Kanich, Kave, and Alhaitham and Nahida all have more holographic style of animations in both their attacks and idols. Hydro also has a close link with life in general, as it is stated that all life originated from the primordial sea. Nibirius created Egeria, the first Hydro Archon, as the new heart of the primordial sea. We see a lot of imagery that looks like DNA strands with the Hydro water droplets that Fontaine characters and Hydro Traveler can make during combat. Renova's design looks to be heavily inspired by Gothic fashion, probably a cross between Gothic Victorian and Gothic Romantic styles. Her wings look a lot like the Staff of Homa's, and of course, they are the exact copy of the wings of the statue of the omnipresent god in Inazuma, suspicious, linking her to not only the Hu clan of Liyue, but to Inazuma as well, which may suggest that lightning is a element closely associated with her. I have no basis for that, but it's suspicious that there is a statue with her wings in Inazuma, the nation of Electro. That is very suspicious. I will say that Pyro out of the two that I'm saying here, seems to be the element with the closest connection to her. This is mainly from the Staff of Homa's weapon story, specifically the line, "Only an unbound flame can purify the filth of this world." The person who said this was never identified in the story, by the way. So, and also due to the fact of this year's Lantern Rite, the Homa ritual was performed, or a Homa ritual. So that's not suspicious at all. Also, Istaroth also looks like a Greek god of some kind, with some Japanese elements here and there. Her outfit looks like it's a cross between a toga and a kimono. Her hair also looks like it's falling away, kind of like sand in an hourglass falling to the bottom, which is a really interesting touch that I really, really like. Her hair also have what looks like two hands of a clock in it. Like one is by her bangs and the other is pinning some of her hair back as like a hairpin, really big hairpin. Also, she has two halos over her head as well, with there are seven, that was confirmed, two small hands of a clock. Like there's seven little hands surrounding her with the halos, which is interesting. Again, the number 7. Also, Animo is the element with the closest link to her, mainly because ancient Mondstadters worshipped her and the wind and referred to her as the 1,000 Winds of Time, or just the 1,000 Winds for short. Also, because this is highly suspicious, Venti, Barbados, the Animo Archon, is said to have been born of the 1,000 Winds and the Branches of Time. This is coming from his character demo. And they also have the same voice actor in all 4 languages as well, which is highly suspicious. I have questions, Hoyo. Moving on. We also get the Sustainer of Heavenly Principles, or the Ruler of Space, aka Asmodee, which they confirmed here. We get to see her again. So I won't, as we have seen her before, and there's like a lot of videos touching upon her. I'm not gonna go too much detail on her, but I will say her design is heavily based on the Hersher of the Void from Honkai Impact 3rd. So if you want an analysis on that, look up analysis for the Hersher of the Void. They are very, very, very similar. Also, I have no idea what element would be associated with the concept of space. Maybe Geo? Maybe? I don't know. Let me know your ideas on that. I'm really interested to hear other people's thoughts on that. The video goes on back to the field after introducing Asmodee. The old woman begins convulsing violently. She's giving us forbidden knowledge, guys. And then she confirms what we just learned, that the ruler of space was the one responsible for separating the twins at the beginning of the game. Then Renova smotes her down, and she is turned to dust, with Renova coming down from the sky, noticing Rhine-Daughter and Nibirius here, commenting that she shouldn't litter other people's spaces with her bizarre creations. We also this is where we get our first look of Rhine-Daughter ever, while she's holding what I assume is the old woman's soul, which looks a lot like the souls or spirits we can encounter during the Surumi Island and Inkonomiya World Quest specifically. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that is the same color of spirits in the Night Kingdom as well. I could be wrong here. Correct me. It's been a bit since I've done some of the other Natlin World Quests, okay? Rhine-Daughter goes on, talks about how all life in that space, confirming that this is not taking place in Teyvat, was rendered unstable due to the taint of the ruler of space. I don't know what that means. I'm sure we'll find out in the future. And that she knows repeating this experiment is fruitless. The screen glitches and switches to what I'm assuming is the shared mind space between Rhine-Daughter and Nibirius, confirming that Nibirius' consciousness still exists, despite Rhindaughter devouring her heart. It also reveals that Rhindaughter is the one with the most control over their shared body, with Nibirius acting more as a voice in her head, shoulder angel type, as Nibirius mentions that she's been stripped of her agency due to the merge, but she's still able to voice and is going to continue to voice her disapproval with Rhindaughter. Rhindaughter admits that she does respect Nibirius in this interaction because she's the only one that can get under her skin. Wow. It does reveal that Nibirius does have a small amount of access to her power still, but with whatever small amount she still has access to, it's clearly not enough to take control of the body from Rhindaughter, who looks to have mastered Nibirius's powers at this point since devouring her heart. I'm going to also mention this as well. Now, I know that all of the pure-blooded Conrian characters that we have met so far or seen so far in any of Genshin's media have had blue eyes of some variation. But I don't think that's a trait that all pure-blood Conrians must have. As far as my research or just search has shown, the only thing that a pureblood Conrian needs that shows that they are a pureblood is that they have a prominent four-pointed star pupil. It does not matter the color of their eyes. Hoyo just really likes blue eyes. Which is interesting because during this interaction, it shows us that Nibirius is associated heavily with color blue and Rhindaughter is associated with gold. That is literally her nickname, which heavily implies to me that she originally had gold eyes, which no longer have these star pupils, but now have an X and Y in them, likely to represent the XY chromosomes needed to create life in general. Her appearance seems to have also taken small design features from Nibirius. One of her arms is now black, with what looks like a DNA strand going up it, which changes color depends on if Rhindaughter is talking or Nibirius is talking as well. She also is wearing a hood, and her gown is half white, half black. Black is probably Rhindaughter's, and the white is most likely Nibirius's influence as well. So, once Nibirius gets done with talking with Rhindaughter, we cut back to the field with Renova looking over at the tree and asking Renova why she gave them, most likely the people that were living in the space, why she gave them history. Renova, who is sitting in the tree above them, claims she had to pass the time somehow, implying she did it because she was bored, which is very, very Venticore. I love it. And also comments that Asmodee isn't there. So at this point, they have just realized she has gone missing, as revealed later on, in like a minute. Renova asks her to share her input earlier next time, but does agree that Asmodee is not there as there's no traces of her. She then proceeds to put the space out of its misery, completely destroying it in the process. The next scene that plays out as the space is being destroyed shows us a lot more spaces, the cubes that the ruler space makes. And if you look closely at the background, you can see what looks to be debris from the shattered moon, which you can still see in Natlan today, which means that these spaces are located outside of the firmament, which is very, very interesting to me. We move over to the next scene, which is heavily covered in stars and galaxy motif. It's just a generic space scene with 4 staircases with a platform at the bottom of it, with an unusual thing in the center of it, maybe used to project messages from the heavenly principles, or them using it to pinpoint a certain thing in the meetings, like to focus in on something. I don't know what it does. I don't know what it is. but it's just there. Istroth asks if it matters if only 3 of them show up, as she comments that these meetings are just a formality. Renova counters that since they were cast as shades, none of them have ever missed a meeting before, which does again show that Asmodee is missing, as she should be at the meeting, as she's always at those meetings. Istroth then suggests she just switch sides, commenting that it would do more harm than good if they tried to go and find her. With Rhindaughter going that it's an interesting idea and it sounds better than being devoured, as that's what happened with Nibirius. Rhindaughter has a hard time not looking smug in this shot, which is hilarious to me. Cuts back to Renova there, saying that it sounds trivial, her switching sides is, and that she just thinks it's unthinkable due to them being the shadows of the heavenly principles. But then she makes a suggestion that how Asmodee may love her new master more than herself, as the reason why she'd do that. I swear if this is a tease for Paimon is Asmodee's theory, I will lose my mind. I hate that theory so much. It's just too easy. Hoyo has done a lot better at misdirecting us before. I don't want it to be. It just makes 0 sense in my opinion. I hate it. 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 This interaction does imply or suggest that Asmodee has been missing for some time now, perhaps since the cataclysm itself. I don't know, as the only thing I do know of the 5.7 Archon quest is that we see the 3 black stars that show up when the ruler of space shows up do appear at some point. I don't know the context. I just know that they show up and then they disappear. That's it. Istroth abruptly changes the subject for some reason. I don't know why, but she asks if Renova knows that she's being watched, with Renova going over whose gaze can cut this far, who can see us. And then the camera zooms in to reveal Piero, the jester, director of the Fatui, staring up into the sky directly at Renova. Oh boy. A flashback begins with Renova going that she remembers those eyes as she saw Piero during the cataclysm, right before she placed the curse of immortality, and shows us Piero was there when she placed the curse. He watched her do it. There's so many implications on that. I don't even want to get into it. He just stood there, stared her down. Really good aura farming, though. Rhindaughter then refers to Piero as an old acquaintance of hers, as her being an alchemist and him being a court mage would suggest that they've interacted before. Rhindaughter suggests sarcastically that working for the Tsaritsa may have helped him let go of his past obsessions. I don't know how sincerely she meant that. I'm just gonna assume that she meant it as either a joke or was pure sarcasm. So I'm not gonna focus too hard on the meaning of that sentence and just move on. Daughter is so weird. She has seriously changed since devouring Nibirius' heart. She has went from loyalty to Conria, betraying Conria and being referred to as the sinners, and is heavily recorded and regarded as the sinner who caused the cataclysm, and now she's associated with the Shades. She has really just jumped allegiances around. I don't think that she's very loyal to the heavenly principles, to be honest, but we'll see as the story progresses. Renova then makes a comment about the Tsaritsa's power as it being paltry, and questions how she dare use it and set her gaze on the heavenly principles. Then Rhindaughter then reminds them that the heavenly principles are still sleeping. They've not yet woken up, and that if she was in the Tsaritsa's shoes, she wouldn't pass that opportunity either, with Nibirius commenting in a small holographic screen that she can't let Rhindaughter think that way, with Rhindaughter saying that it was just purely hypothetical. Again, implying that she's not very loyal to the other shades or the heavenly principles still, which is nice. Renova then goes that since there's a lack of a direct order, that it's time for them to get involved and intervene, as long as it's to the extent allowed by the rules, which is kind of terrifying. Oh boy, we are reaching endgame levels of content now. But that does mark the end portion of the shades part of this video, which was around 6 minutes or more of the video, and the video was almost 9 minutes long. Does not feel like it. We are then brought back to Priero in Not Cry, as he does begin an inner monologue on the god's gaze, how people have always yearned for and considered their gaze as a blessing, and says that it's the meaning and origins of visions. During this whole dialogue, we are shown more landscape of Nod Cry. We see the Fatui stronghold, which we have seen before in multiple teasers for the region. The next landscape we see what looks to be extra Fatui facilities, most likely used to help with maintaining security or the main stronghold itself. Or we also see a canyon with cone-shaped cliffs with blue glowing plants, which are flowers and what I am assuming are bushes. We then see a riverbank with a ship that has been run aground and converted into either a house, a bar, or some other establishment. It looks also that this is near sunset or sunrise. It's very pretty. The next shot shows us a field with boulders, a small pond or lake in the foreground, and in the background we see the pillars of light from the first web event teaser. Nice touch. Nice callback to the web event. We then see a large body of water, most likely a lake, with an island in the center of it that looks suspiciously like the Eternal Oasis in Sumeru. I have also seen other people compare it to the trees on Surumi Island, and I can see it, but my honest first thought was the tree in the Eternal Oasis, but that's just me, because I am a Sumeru lover. I love Sumeru. Getting back on track, we then see a forest with ruined metal structures on the hills in the background. Some of them look like buildings, other look or construction equipment that have been abandoned for quite a long time considering the growth around them. Then the final shot looks to be the town square of Nasha Town, which is really interesting considering there's a large orb in the background, which could be a power source for the town, or it's a decoration like a fountain or something. I don't know. Piero then begins quoting an unknown person, as this is a quote, as the subtitles are in quotation marks for this dialogue. I already know the price of gazing upon the gods, so tell me, what is the price of killing a god? My current thoughts on this is that this is either something Vedafulnir have said in the past, or it could be a quote from the Saritsa. At this point, I'm leaning towards it more being something the Saritsa has personally said, as being a member of the Seven, she knows the price of gazing upon the gods. After that, Piero comments that the heavens still are silent, as if the thought has never once crossed his mind. Specifically referencing a he here, which is most likely the heavenly principles, aka Fanes, the primordial one. It's the most logical conclusion to me at this point. I do know Fanes is not really depicted as being male or female, but the he's referring to here, to me, most logically, is the heavenly principles themselves. We also hear Piero talking about a message or a decree from the Saritsa. While this is a really good shot, the camera is panning up from Nasha Town to Celestia above, which means Celestia is going to be moving again, boys. Behold, even the gods have their limits, which is a very interesting quote. I don't think we'll ever get the meaning of that until later on in Nodcry's story, or until we get to Snezhnaya and meet the Saritsa herself. That is my thoughts on that. Genshin Impact briefly comes onto the screen. Like, we know this is Genshin Impact. Thanks. And then we are immediately taken to, I'm assuming this is an armory or a garage because of the tanks. That is most probably the Fatui stronghold. We also get to see a high-ranking officer finishing up an inspection of the troops. We also then see another officer handing a letter to a lower ranked one, telling him to make sure the Frost Moon Scions don't pose a threat, which means the Fatui that there's some open hostility towards the Fatui from the Frost Moon Scions, which is going to play a very important role in the upcoming Not Cry storyline, which is really, really cool. The final shot is Columbina, the third Harbinger, in a glitching landscape, with her glitching there as well. Now this landscape looks a lot like the Night Kingdom. It also reminds me heavily of Enkanomiya and the Abyss, so there's most likely a connection between all of them. Like, there's just too much similarities for me to think that there's not a connection there, but I won't get into that. Piero then begins talking again, and I'm gonna quote this directly. Per the Pale Star Edict, we are to retrieve the damselette from Not Cry whatever takes. This, to me, suggests that the Pale Star Edict isn't a part of Project Stuja, but rather an order given should a Harbinger be unable to return to Snezhnaya so that they may begin extraction of the Harbinger in question. Which would explain why most of the Harbingers have been dispatched to Not Cry, as the web event that teased Not Cry kind of insinuated. So there is a heavy chance that we may be encountering Arlecchino again in the future, which is awesome. Oh my gosh. Now my initial thoughts when I watched this for the first time, my mind became, putty. There's just so much here that I probably didn't notice or I probably didn't cover. I'm genuinely okay with that. I'm honestly just so floored by this major lore drop that came out at like 12 a.m. on a Wednesday morning. Insomnia was useful for once. But that's not important. Okay, overall thoughts. This was really good. The art and animation styles they used were beautiful. The effects really help with getting the point of their powers and everything and the nature of it across as well. So that's really nice. Landscapes are beautiful, which makes me excited for Not Cry as a whole. I got a couple nitpicks here. Like, there's some weird pauses in the dialogue at times, specifically from Renova. And I don't like the jump between the field scene and the meeting, because it makes it look like, because of all how the dialogue is done and in the field and during the meeting, that the meeting could have taken place before the field scene or after it. I honestly don't know. It could be either. But I overall really enjoyed it. The lore was interesting and the video was made really well. I do want to thank you all for watching my first video and listen to my ramble for however long this ends up being. It means a lot. I may upload more in the future. I just don't know. I have no schedule for this. I'll probably just upload when I do and when I want to. Yeah, but I hope you all have a wonderful day, evening, night, whatever time zone you're currently watching this from. Bye!